You should be updating your deals. So let's assume that you have been successful and you now have a few deals under contract. You have a seller that has agreed to your price. You have the contract executed, and now what you're doing is you are either looking for an end buyer to assign the contract to, or you are marketing the deal for sale to other end buyers. So you have a deal under contract. Okay, your responsibility is to update the seller so that the seller knows exactly what's going on. Let's talk about working on the weekend. And if you're just joining us, you're just joining the live, just some background on the slide. That is my version of a TGI Friday restaurant with the burgers, with the dispo sign on top. And they're enjoying their Friday. They're enjoying their weekend. They're looking forward to their weekend. There are plenty of people in our society. I'm one of them who love their Fridays. Why? Because that's when we get to enjoy our Saturday and Sundays. And if you're young, I was young once too. When you're young on Friday nights, you're already planning what you're going to do Friday night and Saturday night, and then you're going to try to recover on Sunday. Today, what we're going to be talking about is, should you work on the weekends? And I said it before, but the short answer is yes, of course, right? That's what everybody expects me to say. They expect me to say, yeah, you should be working on the weekends, but that doesn't really help you build your real estate business. So what I want to do is I want to offer some guidance and some framework on what you can be doing to help you build it. Number one, weekend mornings are the best time to get a hold of people. When you are doing your outreach, when you are doing any outbound communication, when you are contacting sellers, you have a better chance of getting a hold of them on Saturday morning or Sunday morning than you would Monday through Friday. This is just, common knowledge, common sense. Everybody knows this. Most people we've been conditioned by society to accept that we work Monday through Friday, most of us. Now, I realize that there's other occupations and other professions that do work weekends, but we've been conditioned to think that Monday through Friday is typically when most people work. So on Saturday and Sunday, if you call them in the morning, now I'm not suggesting that you call them at 7 a.m. in the morning because people tend to sleep in on the weekends, but if you give them a call at 9 a.m., you're much more likely to get a hold of them on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. or on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. versus calling them on a Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., right? So you're more likely to get a hold of people. That's the first thing. Second thing is, if you are going after on-market deals, if you are a real estate investor who is looking at opportunities and you're sourcing your opportunities off of the multiple listing service, off of Zillow, off of Redfin, and you're going onto these sites and you're looking for these properties and you're trying to get a hold of agents, understand that on the weekends, real estate agents are traditionally used to working on the weekends. You're going to be able to get a hold of them. Now, I know that sounds bizarre that you'll be able to get a hold of them on the weekends, more likely than you would be able to get a hold of them during the week, but it's true. A lot of these real estate agents were used to, because again, I am licensed as well, we're used to holding open houses on the weekend. We're used to going out and showing buyers properties on the weekends because that's typically when a lot of buyers are available for home shopping. So if you call the real estate agent on a weekend, you are actually more likely to get a hold of them because they're going to be working. Whereas during the week, they might be doing other things. They might be handling transactions. Who knows what they're doing? But you can get a hold of them. And if it's a part-time agent, because let's be real, there are plenty of real estate agents just like us who are operating on a part-time basis. They have a traditional 9 to 5 or a 5 to 9 or a 6 to 10, whatever it is that they have. They have that job and then they have real estate part-time. So on the weekend, you're going to have a much better chance of getting a hold of them. So that is one of the benefits, one of the reasons that I'm suggesting to you that you do operate on the weekends. I know, I hear the collective sigh. I knew he was going to tell us this. I knew he was going to say, get on the phone and cold call. I hate cold calling. Cold calling sucks. I don't want to cold call. I don't want to pick up the phone. I get it. I understand it. And when you're working Monday through Friday at a normal job, and then on the weekends, you finally have some time to dedicate to this, you do not want to get on the phone and cold call for 3 to 4 hours, right? Making about 200 to 300 calls, having people hang up on you, having people tell you that you're the scum of the earth, you don't want to deal with that. I get it. I understand. But it's one of the best time to get a hold of people. So cold calling is something that you're going to want to consider doing on the weekends. Now, for those of you who have some money to throw at this, for those of you who have some money to invest in this, for those of you who believe in the power of delegation, this is also a good time for you to hire a virtual assistant who can make those cold calls for you. Now, that's advanced stuff, and I typically don't recommend that for someone to hire a virtual assistant to handle their cold calling for them until they actually know, their scripts, until they've cold called themselves, or until you know how to handle the lead flow that could potentially come in from a virtual assistant making these cold calls for you. So if you're not going to be doing the cold calling yourself, you're going to want to consider hiring a cold caller, a cold calling team, and you're going to want to get them on the phones on the weekends. So either you do the calls or they do the calls for you, and then you spend your time following up. So that's the second thing that you should be doing on the weekend. On the weekend, you should be following up with all of your warm leads and all of your hot leads. All of your warm leads and all of your hot leads, you should be following up with them. Now, all of your hot leads, you should be calling at least once or twice a day. I've said this before. Your leads are my leads. My leads are your leads. We are all fishing from the same pond. You want to be following up as much as possible. And on the weekends, it's an excellent time for you to get a hold of people that you wouldn't normally be able to get a hold of during the week. You want to follow up with them. So you are following up with your warm leads, and you are following up with your hot leads, and you are following up, going back to what I said earlier, with the leads that are supplied to you by the virtual assistants that you have cold calling for you if you're not going to be doing the cold calling yourself. Or if you've graduated to a position where now you are a very good cold caller, a very good prospector. So now you've delegated that task to a virtual assistant. That virtual assistant is bringing in the leads, and now it is your job to follow up with those leads. I did another training on how you should be following up. You can find that training on YouTube as well. You should be updating your deals. So let's assume that you have been successful and you now have a few deals under contract. You have a seller that has agreed to your price. You have the contract executed, and now what you're doing is you are either looking for an end buyer to assign the contract to, or you are marketing the deal for sale to other end buyers. So you have a deal under contract, okay? Your responsibility is to update the seller so that the seller knows exactly what's going on. Now, if you only have one deal under contract, well, then guess what? You should be spending some of that time contacting the seller so that they know what's happening. Even if nothing is happening in the transaction, even if it's just, right now we're just in a holding pattern, it's always a good idea to get a hold of your seller at least once per week. Make communication with your seller that you have under contract at least once per week so that way they hear your voice. They sense that communication coming from you, and they don't start to panic or get worried. If they hear from you at least once a week, even if they are delays, they are much more likely to give you an extension if they're hearing from you on a regular basis. If they are not hearing from you on a regular basis, and now you're 3 weeks into the contract and you need to renegotiate the contract or extend the contract, you are less likely to get them on board. Much less likely. Whereas if you use the weekends to update your deals, to update your sellers, right, they're probably going to be more comfortable with you because you've developed a level of trust. Now, let's say you have a deal that's under contract and you have a seller, you have the contract, and you've been able to find the buyer for that contract. Well, then it's your responsibility to update all parties. So you're going to update the seller. And even if nothing's going on, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, listen, just want you to let you know, nothing really happened this week. We're getting ready to close. Our scheduled closing date is in about 2 weeks. I just wanted to give you a call just to give you an update because I want you to know that I'm on top of it, okay? And you know what they're going to say? They're typically going to be like, okay, thank you for letting us know. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week. That's it. Now, then you're going to call the buyer. You're going to update the deal. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, listen, just wanted to call you real quick, get a feel for where we're at in the process right now. How close are we to closing? And now you're calling the buyer so that you can get some type of an update, right? I did that backwards because typically you should call the buyer first, get the update, then you can call the seller. But you get my point. You get it. You understand what I'm talking about. What I'm saying here is it's your responsibility to update the seller and the buyer so that that way everybody knows what's going on. The more communication there is, the more likely that this deal is going to close. Okay. Review this week's activities. That's another thing that you can do during the weekend is you can go in there and you can review what it was that you did during the week, okay? Monday, how many hours did I work? Tuesday, how many hours did I work? Wednesday, how many hours did I work? And as you slowly go through this and you start to analyze the number of hours that you put in, you start to analyze the tasks that you completed during the week. You start to log the number of calls that you've made. You keep track of the number of people that you spoke to. You monitor the number of offers that were submitted. You look at how many offers were accepted. Those are your KPIs, also known as key performance indicator. Those are, or simple talk, those are your numbers, right? What's your numbers for the week? Now, when you go back and you review this week's numbers on the weekend and you see, well, I didn't do anything Monday. I didn't do anything Tuesday. On Wednesday, I saw a whole bunch of videos on how to do this stuff. On Thursday, I read Paul's 400-page book in one day. In one day, I finished the whole book. What do you know? I finished the whole thing. And then on Friday, I made about 150 calls. Right? Friday, I did 150 calls. Well, now you know what you've done during the week. And here's the thing. When you see multiple days where you are not doing anything, multiple days where you're not speaking to any sellers or real estate agents or buyers, multiple days where you haven't sent out any offers, no offers were submitted, multiple. And when I say offers, by the way, let me clarify. I've said this before. An offer is not just a 2-page or a 10-page contract that you're submitting. An offer is any type of an offer that you make in writing. So you making an offer via text, that's an offer. You sending out a letter of intent using a system like the Deal Bazooka that can send out 100 to 400 offers or letters of intent per day, those are offers. How many offers have you sent out? Email offers? That's an offer. Right? So when you realize that you haven't sent out any offers this week, even if it was by text, even if it was by DM, right? Because if you're contacting sellers on Facebook Marketplace and you're just making them offers through Messenger, that is still considered an offer and you should log that offer. How many offers have you submitted? When you start to keep track of this journal and you start to see, well, I really only worked 2 days this week. I didn't submit any offers. I only spoke to about 7 people. Later on, when you're wondering, why am I not having any success in this thing, this real estate investing, this real estate wholesaling thing, this is all one big sham. Nobody really makes any money doing this. It doesn't even work. You'll go back and you'll look at your journal and you'll realize that it wasn't the business. It wasn't the profession. It wasn't your mentor. It wasn't the teacher. It wasn't the guru. It wasn't the YouTube influencer. It was you that didn't do the work that you were supposed to do in an industry that works when you respect it and it'll respect you back. That's the reality. So when I say keep a journal and review this week's activities, I'm not just suggesting it so that way, you punish yourself for what you did or didn't do or praise yourself for that. I'm suggesting it so that you could keep track of what it is that is happening within your business. That's very, very important. And some of you will do this and some of you won't do this. And you won't do this because you don't want to see the reality of the work that you're not putting in. You don't want to see that reality. Just like there's some people who are really good at tracking what they eat. They're amazing at tracking what they eat. My wife is she tracks her macros like nobody's business. She knows exactly how many calories she's consumed, how many carbs she's eaten, what her protein intake was, how much fat was in what did she eat, sodium level. I mean, like ridiculous. I can't do that. I cannot do it. We'll have a meal. She'll pull out her phone and she'll be tracking everything that she eats. She scans her barcodes when she's eating. Like I can't. That's just not my thing. That's not my jam. That's not who I am. Like I eat because I want to enjoy the food, which is probably why I look the way I look, right? But when it comes to business, this is why you need to review your week's activities. Okay. Next thing you could do on the weekend, record a week's worth of content. This is great. So many of you are still not using social media as a platform to help you get business. You're not using social media as a platform. And here's the thing, the game done changed. It's done changed on us, right? In the last 3 years, the TikTokification, see how I use big words? The TikTokification of social media has now made it so that anyone can actually go viral whether they have a huge following or not. Before, you used to have a whole bunch of followers for your message to be seen. That was the game. The game was get people to follow you. You get all these followers, then you post something, and then everybody within your follower count sees what you posted. Voila! It's not like that anymore. In fact, if you've been watching TikTok, if you've been watching all these Instagram and all these reels, everybody's over talking about how they've been shadow banned or people aren't seeing their content anymore, and that's just not the reality. The reality is it pushes out content to the people that are interested in what it is that you have to offer, what it is that you have to provide, the service that you are providing, or your content. So anyone that has searched for your content now has the opportunity to see who you are, and you're not taking advantage of it because you still think that you need to have 1 million followers for everyone to see what you're doing. And that's not true. So what you can do now is, once you get good at it and once you get consistent about it, is you can start sharing social media content about you being a real estate investor. Hey, it's Paul. Listen, I don't know if you know it or not, but I'm a real estate investor. I'd like to purchase, and in your town, in Los Angeles, California, I'm looking for ugly houses to buy. If you have a friend or a family member that has a house that is too much for them, the upkeep is too much, it has too many repairs, or they can't get up and down to the second floor, or they don't have the money to fix that property. Listen, I would love to take a look at that property. I'd love to buy it directly from them. They don't have to use any agents. We won't have to pay any commissions, and I can give them a fair market price. Can you please call me or DM me and let me know? Put us together. I'd love to buy their property. Let me know. Something to that effect, right? Now, you have your spin on it. You'll have your flavor. You'll have your personality, whatever. But you can record a week's worth of content and then upload the videos, or schedule them within the platform so that they could be posted Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then next Saturday or Sunday, you do it all over again. It's a time saver. It'll save you time, right? And you'll have all the content already ready to go for you, and you can deploy it using the scheduler. All right. I'm going to tell you that this is a wonderful, wonderful tactic. But Paul, how am I going to make 5 videos saying the exact same thing? Yeah, I get it, right? That's the concern. Now, what you can do is you can make the video in different places. You can shoot one at the house, you can shoot one at the park, it doesn't matter. You can shoot one walking down the street. It doesn't really make a difference. Just get the content out there. Make sure that people know who you are. But Paul, aren't people going to get sick of seeing me say the same thing? No, they're not. Number one, they don't see your message enough. Number two, it takes between 7 to 12 times for someone to see a message before they change a buying habit. So they don't see your message nowhere near as enough. Number three, if you stream, for instance, on Hulu, on Amazon Prime, on Disney Plus with commercials, or Netflix with commercials. If you stream, you will notice that you are seeing the same commercial over and over and over and over and over and over and over again while you're watching the same show. Whereas before, I'm a kid that grew up in the 80s. In the 80s, you'd watch a cartoon and there would be like 4, 5, 6 different commercials marketing different products. They don't care anymore. These days, you'll see the same commercial for, my wife likes to watch SVU, Law and Order SVU. And for whatever reason, we'll see the same drug commercial 8 times during one 1-hour episode of Law and Order SVU. The same drug commercial over and over and over and over again. The same thing applies to you. Everybody's attention span is limited. We have a shorter attention span than goldfish now, and so you need to your message has to be posted consistently, regularly, often, more often than you even can imagine. Don't worry about you bothering people. Don't worry about people, seeing your message too much. Don't worry about oversaturation. Get over it. Record a week's worth of content on Saturday and Sunday. Then the next thing that you can do as well is you can set up campaigns. Set up campaigns for next week. And when I say campaigns, what are we talking about here? Campaigns can be email campaigns. So, for instance, if you are using something like the Deal Bazooka, which is what we use to send out offers, hundreds of offers every single day to properties that are currently on the market on a nationwide basis, 100 to 400 offers every single day to properties that are sitting on the market for 90 days or more. If you want to send out those offers, you can set up the campaigns now, right? As opposed to setting a campaign up every single day, you can set up your campaigns so that they can get ready to be deployed and to be sent out. That's just one example. There's email campaigns, there's DM campaigns, right? For those of you who use a tool called ManyChat, ManyChat. Yes, I'm not an affiliate of them, so I don't get anything. But you can use ManyChat, to be able to send out messages through through DMs, through Instagram. That's one strategy that you can do. But the point is, set up your campaigns. If you're doing PPC or PPL, which stands for pay-per-click ads, or PPL ads, pay-per-lead ads, whatever it is that you're going to do, set up this week's campaigns on the weekend, right? Set it up on the weekend. Set it all up so that next week you can go out there and it'll all be ready for you. As opposed to having to do this during the hours that you are trying to build this business around your schedule, around your profession, around your faith, around your family, around your fitness, and around your finances. I call it the 4 F's. I say it all the time: faith, family, fitness, and finances. Okay, in that order, because who cares? I think I made the mistake of putting finances over fitness. But the thing is, if your health is down the tubes, what good is your finances? Right? Even if you've got all the money in the world, sometimes you can't, cure yourself of some of the illnesses or diseases that you might get. So, faith, family, fitness, finance. Anyway, set up those campaigns so that it doesn't interfere with your 4 F's. All right. So hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully you now have a general idea of some of the things that you could be working on during the weekend. If you want more tips like this, you can join our Dispo Dragons Dollar Club. It is $1, lifetime access. Sorry, not sorry. It's not free. $1. $1 make you holla. School.dispodragons.com. SKOOL.dispodragons.com. SKOOL.dispodragons.com. You can join our tribe, join our community. Let's be real. You can get this information almost anywhere. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on Reddit. You can find it on WAP. You can find it everywhere. The stuff that I shared with you is already out there. Now, granted, I have my own style. I like to use slides. I like to use interesting backdrops. I do it the way I like to do it. That's just the way I am. But there's different variations of it already out there. Some are younger, some are older, some are my age, whatever. The point is the information's out there. So you're not just joining this for the information. You're joining it because you now have a tribe. You've got a group of individuals just like you that want to succeed. They want to do something for their family. They want to do something for the community. They want to do something for themselves. They want to build a portfolio of real estate, and using wholesaling as an exit strategy is one way to do that. And so when you join this tribe, you're now surrounded by other people who have had successes. They've had failures. They've had multiple failures, and this is a chance for you to meet them, communicate with them, learn from them, and have access to all the information that is out there in an organized fashion, and for you to participate as well. So it's only $1. Go to school.dispodragons.com. Okay. Be sure that you like and follow us. As I mentioned before, look, we work hard on doing this and giving you this information. If you want the slides, send me a DM. We'll get you the slides so that you can have it as well. But be sure that you like and follow us and share. Share this content. If you think that there's other people that can benefit from this, there's a lot of people that are out there and they're on a one man, one woman, one person island, and they're trying to do this on their own. Share this information with them. If you saw value in it, send them this link, have them watch this video, invite them to join our school community, and be sure that you like and follow us. We work hard on this stuff for you. The cost of admission is just a like, a follow, and a share. That's it. All right. Hopefully, this helped you out. I look forward to hearing about what you do this coming weekend. I want to hear what tasks you're going to complete so that you could continue building your real estate investing business. My name's Paul. We'll talk a little bit later on. Have a great day, everybody.